What's up, Tube? Welcome back to Low Guido's Chop Shop, the second best Gel Blaster channel on the tubes. And tonight on the bench I've got the Taidi M4 with the HSG V2G gearbox that I was fitting up. You may have seen in some previous videos I've got the DNA enhanced wiring loom, I've got the Titan MOSFET, HSG V2G gearbox, and the Taidi metal M4 receiver, and I've got the upper here. Now, one of the problems, if you recall, the T-piece wasn't lining up for me, and so I've had to have a new T-piece designed so that it fits in and lines up for me. A little bit of modifications to it, had to make it a bit shorter and that sort of things. So I cut a little bit off of it. It was like 4 mils off the end of it. This spring here sits on there. The HSG T was a little bit longer. Anyway, either way, that works now. The other issue I had was with the charging handle. I couldn't fit the charging handle in with this upper receiver, so I've had to modify the charging handle. I guess I could have bought a different charging handle to suit this, but I just decided to modify the one that I've got for now. So I'll show you what I've done. So I think I mentioned in the last video that the Taidi box actually has like a little thinner rail that this sort of sits on top of the actual gearbox here, whereas the HSG V2G is like a big solid single piece that doesn't have any ridges or anything in it. So I had to sort of mill out a little bit. You can see the silver bits on the charging handle that I've milled out. So I've milled that out so it sort of sits on top now. The original Taidi box has like a little square that sort of juts out somewhere there that I think it hooks up on that bit there inside, so that you can't like reef the handle straight out the back of it. So I'm not going to have that feature, so I'm just going to have to be more careful. Not that I'll be reefing on the charging handle too hard, because its only purpose in this particular instance is to open the ejection port dust cover. That's literally the only thing it does at this point. So I just got that pin in there, just sort of halfway in, and now I'll just check to make sure this charging handle fits, which it does. Fits nicely. So now what I'll do, so I'll just pop that pin back out again. And I will fit the rest of the charging handle. There's some bits here that I've taken off the spring and the little plastic thing that does that, so I'm going to fit them on, and then we'll pop this charging handle back in. Alright, pop this spring in here first. Because this little plastic thing kind of retains it, sort of, not entirely, but kind of stops it from accidentally falling out. And this little plastic bit's the bit that pops the dust cover open. Now that should all go in here quite easily. I do have a little screw in here for the spring, so this should just drop in. Hopefully the spring screw thing is easy enough to get in. Let's see. Can I do it? Super awkward. Got him. Alright. Alright, so now in theory, sweet. Alright, that should work in theory. Now it's just a matter of putting this into that or something. Alright, pin in, dust cover closed, dust cover open. Oh, I do like having a functional charging handle. I also removed that faux bolt from behind there because it was fouling on the gearbox here and making it not want to fit. The T-piece lines up nicely there. Now that's all good. Alright, now my next issue is that this enhanced wiring loom that I've got here, it's quite fat, so the buffer tube has to go on here and the wiring has to go into the buffer tube. So usually there's only two, like the negative and the positive wires there, so there's not a big fat lot of wires going in there. So I think I'm going to have to actually modify this or the buffer tube somewhat in order to get it to fit, because that is not going to fit regardless of what buffer tube I have. The buffer tube goes on like that, so if you want the wires to go down the buffer tube, as is tradition, that is not going to fit there with this big fat loom here. I'm going to have to make some sort of modifications to something, either the buffer tube or the actual section on the back of the receiver there that holds the buffer tube. Either way, this is operable at the moment without the buffer tube. So I want to test it. I want to give it a test. How can we not? Now let's whack a battery on this and go to the chrono. here we go. Not too bad. Not bad. Probably a little bit above field limits. Okay. Nice numbers. I do have to adjust the motor a little bit. It did sound a little bit tight. This particular grip is a real crap grip. Like in terms of, I've mentioned this before. In terms of this actual grip, it's horrible in the way that it holds the motor and adjusts and everything. It's terrible, but I pursue it because I really like it. I love the feel of it and I like the grip. So my advice is don't use this grip, but I'm using this grip because I love. Anyway, I also found I've removed the thick heat shrink that was on this wiring loom, and I found that without the thick heat shrink, I can squash the wires down flat and just about, I could almost get that on. So my plan is that I'm going to Dremel out some of the buffer tube, the bottom there, just on the inside. If I can get this wire out so I can show you. Really? This is how I die. Trying to get the Dean's connector out of the buffer tube. Alright, so inside this buffer tube there's a flat section on the bottom there. I think if I Dremel that out, make it a little bit rounder down in there, just round enough to get some wiring loom through there, I should be able to fit it, and it should be alright. That's my theory. I'm gonna go do that, Dremel it out and see how we go. I'll do it off camera because you don't want to see me dremeling this. It's just, you know, Dremel work. Love it. Alright, so I've actually got this sling hook which goes in here as well, which helps, it spaces out the buffer tube a little bit and it sort of helps take a little bit of stress off of that wire. And I've, I don't know if you can see in here, I've Dremeled out that channel in there just so it's just it's a little bit more round instead of so square, and it sort of eases that area there. So I can just if I set all these wires flat, just slide this buffer tube on, and that'll go on. And of course there's a castle nut there as well, so I can put that, I haven't got that on at the moment, but yes, this is coming together quite nicely. Alright, well I gotta put the castle nut on and a stock and a couple other little bits and pieces, but I'm gonna call this done for now. I'm gonna call it done for the circumstances of this video. I wouldn't usually build a blaster this powerful. It was punching out some good numbers, but like this isn't field legal, so I wouldn't usually do it, but I'm doing it just to test the gearbox. Essentially, I want to know that that this gearbox is going to hold up to the abuse, and so I'm making it a little bit hot for that reason. But yeah, I'll give it a bit of a thrashing and see how we go. But for now, I'm gonna have to call it a night. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, you can get a patch from my Facebook, Loguido's Chopters, or you can get a patch from Hardcore Blasters, which is also where you can get a V2G, incidentally. So, yeah, when you're going out there to pick up a V2G, grab a patch too, why not? And thank you to all my supporters. You can also become one of my supporters down below by buying me a coffee and subscribing. Thanks for all my subscribers, 20,000 subscribers. Thank you very much, guys. I love you all. Peace.